Good evening. The 61st Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards is about to begin.
It's not so much about the goal of winning, it's about the process.
The Wildlife Photographer of the Year is an opportunity to talk with millions of people.
It is a pleasure to be here in this wonderful place.
I entered the Wildlife Photographer of the Year to share meaningful moments from the wild that inspire the people to take action.
Because it's the most prestigious contest in the whole world.
So good evening again. I'm pleased to continue to enjoy your meal while I kick off the proceedings tonight. As I say, I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you to the Natural History Museum, where we celebrate the spectacular 61st Wildlife Photographer of the Year Awards. Now, all our public engagement work here at the museum is designed to do one thing. It's designed to support our mission of creating advocates for the planet, inspiring people to care about nature, inspiring enough to want to protect it. We do it through the urban nature movement, reconnecting young people with nature, wherever they live, in towns and cities. We do it through fixing our broken planet, sharing solutions to the planetary crisis. And we do it through Wildlife Photographer of the Year, helping to inspire a love of nature and a desire to protect it through showcasing the unbelievable work of the world's finest wildlife photographers. Honoring our photographers is one of my absolute favorite parts of my job every year. Your work, and we have so many photographers in the room tonight, your work is extraordinary and extraordinarily important. You bring back stunning images from around the world that every single year inspire millions to become advocates for the planet. Now, whether you've been here before or not, the 100 images you see tonight were selected from over 60,000 submissions. It's really, really hard to get on that screen tonight. And as well as featuring some of the most eminent photographers in the world, this exhibition features this year more amateurs and more new talent than ever before, which is fabulous. You'll also see inspirational images from more young photographers, testament to the sheer strength of talent in the under 18-year-old categories. And if you really want to feel humble, just look at what some of those 10 and 11-year-olds are doing. It's, you realize you have wasted your lives. I certainly have wasted mine. A truly arresting image of a whip spider you'll see, an evocative rendering of the ibex silhouetted against the mist-shrouded mountains. They are extraordinary. Now, Wildlife Photographer of the Year is a truly international affair. The competition this year received entries from 113 countries. Our digital reach grows each year. And last year, our flagship exhibition, the one you will have the opportunity to see later, it always debuts here in South Kensington, but it toured to over 30 venues around the world. It's been to Germany, it's been to Canada, India, Australia, China, Brazil, and last year, for the first time ever, Mexico. And this global outreach is more vital than ever. It is going to take a planetary effort to tackle a planetary emergency. Just last week, we hosted an event looking ahead to COP30 in Brazil. We were honored to be joined by His Majesty the King and His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. The Deputy Prime Minister, the Secretary of State for Energy Security and Net Zero, the Secretary of State for Environment were all here to speak about the need to accelerate action on both nature and climate. And you don't even have to go to Brazil. Just walk 10 yards that way, and you will find the new Fixing Our Broken Planet, providing a dedicated space, encouraging visitors to take action and showing the actions we can all take. Now, as ever, some of the images you'll see tonight do document the harm we as a species have caused to the natural world. But others tell extraordinary stories, stories of resilience, of ingenuity. There's an aerial image of a floating farm in Bangladesh, where traditional techniques are being revived to meet today's environmental challenges and providing sustainable year-round food. We must never lose hope. And it is now my pleasure to thank our panel of expert judges who hail from around the world. Akansha Sudhsing from India, Andy Parkinson and Gavin Broad from the UK, Hans Cosmos and Gontara from Tanzania, James Culbras from Spain, although I understand an Ecuadorian local for more than 14 years, Jennifer Hayes from the United States, and magnificently chaired once again by the inimitable, where are you, Kathy Moran. Round of applause for our wonderful judges. And don't worry, we're nearly on to the action, but I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Nuveen as our Wildlife Photographer of the Year exhibition lead corporate sponsor this year. Nuveen has a track record of responsible investment for over 5 decades and is a market leader in responsible investment, and their generous support will help to further amplify the work of everyone involved in this captivating exhibition. So, are we excited? I think so. Without further ado, please welcome to the stage your hosts for this evening, Chris Packham and Megan McCubbin.
Hello. Good evening. How are we all doing? Good. We need a bit more energy. I'm excited.
You're excited?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I love this award show so much. So it's an absolute honor to be here as ever.
I love this place. I love this place more than most places. It's got to be said.
Yeah.
Do you know what? What Doug won't have told you, he's too modest, but I'm going to tell you, is that we were having a conversation at lunchtime today. And I said to him, how's the museum doing? And we ran through a list of ways that you might measure that of various sets of parameters. And I said, what about visitor numbers? And he said, yeah, pretty well, actually. We're at number 2. And I thought, number 2. So what does he mean? Does he mean number 2 in terms of all of the natural history museums around the world? Smithsonian, Berlin Museum, there are pretenders. And then I thought, did he mean number 2 in terms of visitor numbers in the UK? He's up against Tate Modern, he's up against the British Museum, V&A next door. He told me that this fantastic place, this remarkable edifice, this volume that's filled with all of the knowledge accumulated over years and years and still being added to at this point in time, this jewel in natural history's crown is number 2 in the world. That applause was lackluster. Let's hear it for Doug, his team, and everyone who works at the fantastic Natural History Museum. We don't need the Mona Lisa. We've got a whale. And it's got a better smile than that enigmatic one worn by Leonardo's lady. Anyway, what a night.
It's such a special evening, and it is incredible being here under Hope, of course, the magnificent blue whale. There's no feeling like dining under her, and being here to experience all of these photos, these incredible images. And when I look out across the room, I see such a commonality with everyone here. I see scientists, I see storytellers, I see creative individuals, visionaries. But more than that, I see commonality in that we share a common hope. We're all human beings, and we care about the future of our planet, not just for wildlife, but for people too. And these images can be incredibly powerful. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You don't need to speak the same language, but you can all look at the same image and feel something. And that is what Wildlife Photographer of the Year, for me, is all about. So very exciting.
Tonight it's about you, the photographers. We're very pleased that you've come from all over the world to join us tonight. It's about celebrating your remarkable work. And I think this year we do have a remarkable body of work. But before we start, I think it would be prudent to pay tribute to someone that we've lost this year. A photographer that certainly was instrumental and formative when it came to my own interest in natural history photography, and also, the way that it led me to think about the natural world. I'm talking about the one and only Jim Brandenburg. Now, Jim Brandenburg I had the great good fortune of meeting in association with this competition. He was a past winner, of course, with a stunning photograph of an oryx here. But you might also remember those pictures of wolves on Ellesmere Island jumping across from one iceberg to another. Stunning, stunning images. His photographs were always truly honest. They were pictures that he took in his space. And they were very easy to connect with because they were true. And they reflected a deep understanding and a passionate love for the natural world. So we're very sad to have lost one of our greats from our community.
It's not just... Very sadly, of course, it's not just Jim that we have lost recently. I have to talk about Dr. Jane Goodall. She is an absolute hero for so many people in this room. It was with great sadness when the news of her passing hit our news streams. She was an absolute visionary. She was the first of her kind in conservation and science. To go out and get a PhD without an undergraduate was incredible as a woman. And when she started posing this idea that chimpanzees had such a thing as personality, the scientific community disagreed with her. She came up against a lot of straight thinking that didn't think outside the box when it came to actually animals can be more than just, something to occasionally observe. They have personalities, they have character, they have so much. And Jane taught us that, not just about chimpanzees, which of course she's known for, but about every living species on the planet. And just before she died, a week before she died, she did an interview. And the interviewer asked, "What would you like to be remembered for?" And she said, that animals think for themselves, not just the wild ones, but also the species that we have sometimes on our plates. And I think that's really important. Of course, amazing plant-based food tonight, but more on that later. Jane was incredibly inspirational as a woman in science, as photographers. So please raise a glass to Jim and Jane. Now, we are live streaming this incredible award ceremony. So for those online, everyone from India to Indonesia, China to Canada, a very big welcome to you all. And for anyone wanting to celebrate on social media, please use the hashtag WPY61.
We're going to be showing you all of the 100 photographs chosen by the jury, category by category, as we always do. But do keep in mind, of course, that all of these photographs were judged blind. The judges couldn't see the photographers' names, so not even their nationalities were revealed at that point.
We'll be taking a little bit of a break halfway through the ceremony after we've seen the winner of the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year and crowned that grand title of the youth category there. And if you're lucky enough to be a winner, please make your way to the left of the stage as soon as Chris or I start talking about your winning image. So you are ready to join us up on stage as soon as we say your name. The finale will be the announcement of the utmost guarded secret. Oh, it's a hard secret to keep, isn't it, at times? Oh, my goodness, I can tell you that. The name of the overall grand title winner, the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. It's going to be really exciting. Are you ready?
I'm ready to start, actually.
Okay, well, shall I leave you to it? Can you handle it?
I'll try.
All
I'll
right.
try.
Good luck.
Yes, the cheek of youth. We're going to start with one of the most popular categories and therefore one of the most difficult to win, animal portraits. And cast your mind back over the years and you'll recall that there have been some truly stunning animals, portraits taken. It needs to convey the character of the animal as an individual, the essence of a species, if you like. There's always debate about what actually a portrait is. We're going to show you 5 exceptional portraits now. First up is this one, a collection of Pallas's kittens on top of a rock. I don't know what the collective is for Pallas's cats. Perhaps it's a stupendous, because these are difficult cats to reach and photograph. It's a fantastic image. Next up, what about this curious pack of wolves on Ellesmere Island? Same place that Jim was photographing all of those years ago. Now, when you're photographing a group of animals, a pack in this case, there's always one, isn't there? I mean, look at the one on the left, posed perfectly. The one in the middle, though, showing us its backside. Next up, reincarnation of Bonnie and Clyde, or the Cray twins. Two langurs leering into a camera trap. And then this remarkable portrait of an eagle owl. And this could truly grace the cover of an Edgar Allan Poe book. It's dark, it's mysterious. There's something quite devilish going on with this extraordinary picture. And then last but not least, if you go down to the woods today, you're in for a massive scare. Look at this, a Columbian spectacled bear emerging from the foliage like a nightmare from a very, very grim fairy tale indeed. Some stunning images, as you can see, and therefore probably a very difficult decision for the jury to form. So which one did they choose to be the portrait of the year 2025? Well, it was this one. This is what I like about this competition. It's bold and it's brave. It would be easy to go for something that was smiling in terms of a portrait, but it's gone for something which is obscure and needs interpreting. Needed a lot of work to get it. The photographer found this owl's nest on a cliffside and then visited it for 4 years before they could get into a position to take this photograph. And it was shot over a long distance through a telephoto lens to avoid obviously disturbing the bird at the very last point in the day when there was any light. And then a little bit of deliberate movement, a bit of shaking the old tripod added that brushstroke of mystery to this. So please, as our first winner this year, Philip Egger from Italy, please come to the stage.
Out there, you can spend weeks, months, sometimes years in the cold, in the rain, alone, just waiting for a single glance, a breath, a heartbeat of the wild. I've spent more nights with this owl than with my own family. And somehow every second was worth it. I called him Shadow Hunter. For weeks I searched for... I called him Shadow Hunter. For weeks I searched for him. For months I studied his behavior. Night after night I waited in cliffs and crevices. Till one night, there it was. A look out of the darkness so intense. I knew this was not just a photograph of an animal. This was a portrait of a soul. This image reminds me that we humans often believe we are the main characters on this earth. But the truth is, we are only guests. And that is why tonight, I don't accept this award as a prize. I accept it as a responsibility for the wilderness, for the silence, for everything that has no voice, and everything we are in danger of losing. I want to thank my family for enduring all those nights without me. I want to thank nature for her patience, her beauty. And I want to thank the jury, the organizers, and everyone who gives this stage a voice. You make it possible for the language of nature to be heard. Because if we are quiet enough, nature speaks to us, sometimes with a sound, sometimes with a scent, and sometimes with a single look that changes everything. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Excellent stuff. Now we're on to the first of 4 categories of wonderful images of wild animal behavior. So basically the animals have to be doing something, or the photographs have to demonstrate something of a creature's behavior. And we're going to start off with insects and other invertebrates. Now, again, the jury have chosen 5 images, so we'll work our way through those, starting with this one. Oh my goodness me. Just look at that. If there was any doubt in your mind, if at any point you'd become tired of engaging with, exercising your fascination for, or your curiosity about wildlife, that's just blown it back, hasn't it? Life is wonderful. Look at that moth pupae floating in that cage of its former caterpillar hairs. Look at this one, the caterpillar. The caterpillar. So this is a single caterpillar with 5 heads of its previous skins balanced on top of its own head. Look at that, backlit, almost symmetrical. I mean, you can't rely on a caterpillar, can you really, in terms of total symmetry? And then what about this? A scene from Starship Troopers. If any of you remember Paul Verhoeven's sci-fi from the 1990s, where the inverts take on the mammals. So 2 crabs here, in fact 3 crabs, doing battle with a bird that's fallen to the ground. And again, the horror show continues. These are tiger beetle larvae photographed in India. So they may look benign, but those capsules that you can see in those little turrets of earth are the heads of these larvae. And if anything strays too close to them, they leap out of those holes, grab it with their mandibles, and drag it down into that dark, dingy cave where they devour it. Fantastic things. And talking about diabolical killing machines, look at this potter wasp. This wasp has paralyzed this caterpillar, and it's going to carry it back to its neatly made pot, onto which it must paralyze this caterpillar, and it's going to carry it back to its neatly made pot, onto which it may lay an egg. And if the egg hatches, it will eat the non-essential organs of that caterpillar first, so it continues. Fantastic photographs. The winner, chosen by the judges this year, is this photograph of the caterpillar. It's a moth species, and as you know, when the larvae are developing, they have to shed their skins. And what's unique about this species is that it sheds and it keeps the head capsules from the 4th instar on top of its own head. Now, what on earth is that about? Well, believe it or not, it uses this as a tool to swipe at potential predators. So it keeps its old heads to bash any potential predators on their head. Stage, the winner this year, Georgina Statler from Australia.
Thank you, but I'm a little bit stunned after the last winner. I thought, oh my God. It was such a beautiful speech. So I want you to the reason this award means so much to me is not just because I get to showcase Australia's absolutely bloody amazing mad caterpillar with a penchant for stacking heads. But actually because for the past year, since the beginning of the year, I've been a carer for my mum and dad and my husband. I had won this award. The look of pride and joy on their face is something I will never, ever forget. And my dad passed away in my arms not long after I found out. And he was not someone you would know. His name was George Park. He was just a farmer. He was an orchardist. But he loved nature, and he loved, in particular, the Bodans black cockatoos. In Australia, they have had a 90% decline since European occupation of Australia. And I want to take this opportunity in the name of my father to draw attention to the fact that Alcoa, an American bauxite aluminium company, has currently put in a proposal to clear another 11,000 hectares of native Australian, or 150 of native jarrah forest, and within that 11,000 hectares are 150,000 nesting hollows for this Bodan's black cockatoo. So, the other part of it as well is that it will result, that 11,000 hectares, in 1.3 billion tonnes of carbon emissions. You have to excuse me, I get emotional. And so what I want to say to you today is there is an African proverb that says, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you haven't spent the night in a tent with a mosquito. So it's incumbent on all of us as photographers to get out from behind the lens and start standing in front of it. And when you do advocate for the Arctic and the Amazon, don't forget to advocate for the parkland around the corner, because real change begins at home. You've got to call and be the mosquito. Thank you.
Be the mosquito and bite hard. Next up, in terms of behaviour, we've got mammals, and the judges chose 5 again in this category. First up, we have this image of a caracal. A caracal not doing what caracals normally do, because it's feeding on a lesser flamingo. Sometimes just one point in a picture can tell the whole story. I draw your attention to the flamingo's golden eye. That eye tells a message, doesn't it? Sends us all a message, actually. It's not going to make it, is it, frankly? Simply not going to make it. Next up, a bird that had a little bit more luck, I fear. This one, ferocity in action, isn't it? And look at that. That's ferocity in action, isn't it, really? The rather more manic attack of the dog rather than the stealth of the previous cat. And then next up, what about this one? A lion and a cobra. We should anthropomorphise, perhaps. The lion's thinking, I'm a mammal, and I can probably do you quite a lot of harm. On the other hand, the reptile is thinking, well, I'm just a reptile, but boy, I can pack a punch. It ended amicably. They both went their own separate ways. Didn't end amicably in the next picture, I'm afraid. Here are 2 puma cubs, and they've already got a guanaco that's been provided by their parent. It's wounded, and they've got it in the bushes, and it's become a plaything for them. And when it comes to playthings, things get worse for this dik-dik in the mouth of not 1, not 2, but 3 cheetah cubs. And this is typical of young cheetahs like this. They will be given something or occasionally catch it themselves, and then they will release it and let it run, and then they'll release it and let it stumble, and they'll release it and let it crawl, and eventually when it can't crawl, they might actually eat it. Life can be savage, but without that savagery, it wouldn't be beautiful, and those were some beautiful images. So which one did the judges choose? The winner this year in animal behaviour is the caracal. Now, caracals are a bird feeding specialist. I've been fortunate enough to see them only on one occasion. They typically feed on doves, actually, and things like spurfowl, ground birds, like partridges. But they typically like to ambush them in the grass, or they will leap up into the air, not scramble across the mud out into a soda lake to grab a lesser flamingo like this. So I think we have to say that whilst the leopard can't change its spots, the caracal can change its hunting technique. And the person who captured that was Dennis Stogstill from the United States. Dennis, come and collect your prize.
I'll be short. I've been told to be short. Thank you very much to the organization, the Wildlife Photographer of the Year, the judges, the staff. You put on a great competition and an amazing event tonight. I'd also like to thank the important people in my life, my family, excuse me, my boys who put up with all my trips, my lovely Lisa who puts up with all my photography nonsense, my friends and mentors in the photography community, and all of the photography community. I appreciate all of you. And it's a real joy and a thrill to share this award with some amazing photographers who appreciate the beauty and the complexity of animal behavior. Thank you very much.
Well, the photography nonsense paid off, didn't it? Not so much nonsense there. Next up then, in terms of animal behavior, it's amphibians and reptiles. We've got 3 images this time. First up is this one. These are loggerhead musk turtles in a Florida spring. Now, as you can see from the animal's head here, they've got quite powerful jaws, and they're typically crunching up quite large snails, but they're not so large that they can't be crunched up themselves by things like alligators. So they typically make these little turtle motels in the soft, muddy banks of the spring. And you can see 2 more beyond the animal in the foreground that have had the good sense not to emerge from their muddy holes. Next up is this image, and these are male yellow tree frogs, and they are at a mass mating event in French Guiana. What about that? I've been to a few mass mating events. I only said that because I'm looking for a Daily Mail headline, you know. But we all love a mass mating event, don't we? Particularly when it's as picturesque as this, and you've got these startling yellow frogs on the green background taken at night. Last up, a diamondback water snake swallowing an American bullfrog. No mean task. Bullfrogs, as you probably know, capable of growing to this sort of size. And we've had, over the years, a number of photographs of snakes eating their prey, but this one's pretty special. Look at the colour of the bullfrog in the light there. It looks almost like it's pyrotised. It's absolutely beautiful, and the composition of this photograph is excellent. So, which was the winning image of the 3 that the judges chose? It was this, the beautiful tableau of the yellow tree frogs. Now, there's a whole lot of frogs there, but that doesn't mean the photograph's easy to take, because obviously they've come out to display before they go about their spawning behavior, and that is triggered by weather events. So the photographer needed to not only know where the frogs were, and we're talking about French Guiana here, not the most hospitable of environments to work in, but also to wait for the right weather, because it needed a big pile of rain to get them all going. And then they all came out, started calling to their mates, and I think, you know, the dark background of the photograph and that simple palette of green and yellow makes it very striking. And unlike the wolf in the middle of that first photograph, I think all the frogs are pretty much in the right place. So let's put our hands together for the photographer who's won this category this year, Quentin Martinez from France.
So hello everyone, thank you. So what you see there is actually just one part of the scenes. So basically, you need to imagine that all around you, you have tens of thousands of individuals of these small frogs. So basically, you have frogs all over the ground, in the pond, and all over the trees. So it's just amazing, and you need to have earplugs because the sound is crazy. And yeah, when you are a frog lover, it's the best moment of your life, so it was just amazing. Yeah, and I just want to dedicate this award to all people who are working with conservation and to protect nature, and also to raise awareness about biodiversity, especially to young generations, because I think it's very, very important. And even if we live kind of difficult times with biodiversity loss, I think we need to be optimistic, and there is some hope, and yeah, we need to be curious about nature. Thank you.
Okay, to end the animal behavior categories, we're going to approach that most photographed group of animals, the birds. And we have 5 very different images from 5 different countries here. First off, this is one of those photographs that I think when you see it, it makes you just want to be there. This is black grouse lecking. Obviously, they normally leck in greater numbers, but the photographer's isolated this one individual. If you look carefully, you can see it's leaping off the ground as the sun rises, and it's got the mist behind it. It, again, is almost symmetrical. Obviously, the right foot issue is a bit of a problem, but never mind. It does, though, doesn't it? Can you imagine being there at that moment? Just perfect. Next up, a bit more dynamic. This is a rose-ringed parakeet defending its nest from a Bengal monitor. Monitors like this, despite their size, are, quite capable of climbing trees, and they do so to raid the nests of birds, taking their eggs or young. And in this photograph, one of the rose-ringed parakeets has got hold of its tail. So the birds are having to go back at their ancestors, the reptiles, in order to protect their young. This one is a beautiful study of a bowerbird. Just look at the light here. These birds make bowers. A bower is not a nest, it's a place where they attract the females. And they take various forms, and some will add coloured objects to them. So they can be natural fruits, or they can even be pieces of plastic. In fact, there's one bowerbird I remember seeing which actually puts stones in its nest and stones outside its nest. And it puts the bigger stones outside and the smaller stones inside, so that it generates an optical illusion, so that when the female comes into the nest, she's slightly more fascinated and is more likely to mate with the male. What about that? Birds generating their own optical illusions. Next up, we have this. So it's a bit surreal what's going on here, where we've got an egret that was trying to catch a small fish, but has been beaten to it by a bigger fish. It's a remarkable picture. Look at that. I mean, you've got a feel for the little fish, haven't you, really? I mean, if the egret didn't get it, the bigger fish has got it. It's fantastic. And this photograph requires a little bit of analysis. So this last photograph is a high-speed chase. Now, when you look at it initially, you may think that these two birds are flying side by side. But when you think about the depth of field, the fact that they're both pin sharp, that means that the roller is directly behind the little owl. Why is that? Well, it's because it's pursuing it to its nest hole. Both of these species are hole nesting, and they were nesting in nest boxes put up by the photographer. And in the early part of their breeding season, before they'd calmed down, the aggression meant that one was chasing the other into the nest. And this took an enormous amount of effort to get. It's a startling picture of two beautiful species. So, which of those images is the winner this year? The judges deliberated. It was a difficult choice, very obviously, and they came up with this. bit of a good news story going on here as well. The photographer took this in an area which had been spoiled. It was an area that was fantastic for wildlife, and then it was damaged by some construction of a dike. But then conservationists came to the fore, decided to make a hole in the dike, gave it access to seawater, and that meant that once or twice a day, as the seawater rushed into this lagoon, lots of small sardinellas, the small fish, would rush in. The egrets soon learned this, birds are smart, when we're standing waiting for the small fish, and so did the big fish learn the same thing. So just as the egret leapt to try and catch its prey, as you saw, the ladyfish leapt first and was larger, and that's how the photographer got the picture. Chen Rong Yang is from China, but unfortunately he's been unable to travel to London tonight, but he has sent us a message.
我想通过这张照片向大家展示厦门良好的城市生态环境。照片中小白鹭的喙就像一把达摩克利斯之剑，高悬在空中，随时可能落下来，也提醒我们一定要有危机感，珍惜美好的生态环境和生物多样性，爱护和保护地球的自然生态。WPY 是当今世界最有影响力的自然类摄影比赛。参加这个比赛能够向外界分享本人所拍摄到的自然界精彩瞬间，也可以向其他优秀的摄影师学习，宣扬生态保护意识。对于本人能够获得 WPY 的奖项感到无比荣幸，感谢组委会评委们对本人作品的充分肯定，我将继续努力做得更好。由于本人工作上的原因，我可能无法亲自出席10月份在伦敦举行的第61届 WPY 颁奖现场，我对此感到无比的遗憾，也预祝活动取得圆满成功。谢谢。
Some absolutely incredible images that we've shared with you so far. I think you'll agree the standard this year is just outstanding, as ever, but incredible every single time. So now I have the utmost pleasure of presenting a very special award, one that I think, I don't know, I feel very passionate about this one. It's the Rising Star of 2025. The award is given to a young photographer aged no older than 26 who shows exceptional talent and the promise of developing a serious career as a professional wildlife photographer. Contenders are judged on a portfolio that shows style, imagination, consistent quality, something that it's hard to achieve, which this winner, at just 19 years old, most certainly has done. There's humour in this portfolio, as well as beauty, drama, turmoil, colour. I honestly think of this photographer as a living embodiment of Monet. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw his images. First up, a feral coypu among mute swans on a city lake at sunset. Coypu, of course, is an invasive animal, but doing quite well elsewhere in Europe, but a beautiful, beautiful image. An inquisitive harbour seal up next in the middle of a rainstorm. Central point of focus and that palette of blues, it's like one brush stroke gone across. I love the texture of the water, that harshness and the smoothness of the seal. I think the composition is absolutely outstanding. Up next, a moody portrait of a Eurasian pygmy owl. I love this. I love a peeping animal. Do you know what I mean? When it's just in the corner, just having a little look. Very creative, quite entertaining. Next up, a watchful blackbird with fallow deer at dawn. I love a blackbird. They're one of my favourite bird species, especially when it comes to photographing them. Hard to get a good photograph of a blackbird, but my goodness, this one with the deer silhouetted behind it, it's moody, it's atmospheric, it's stunning. Here we have a red-throated diver taken on a lake at first light. And when the photographer first arrived here, he was waiting for the red-throated divers to appear, thought they weren't going to show up. When all of a sudden, using those ears, the senses that we become attuned to for the animals we want to photograph, he heard them flying overhead, and that's where they came into sight. Next up, we've got a poignant portrait of a male pygmy owl with a clawful of food for his young, who very sadly are missing, as is his mate. He went and still diligently collected as much food to feed hungry owlets. They take a lot of energy to look after and feed, but very sadly, the owlet and his mate had gone. But as you can see, this is not only a photographer with a sense of nature and understanding and ability to be able to predict behavior to get the best image, but it's someone who spends time to capture beauty and drama. They've got creativity, a skill to convey that in pictures as well. This is not just a photographer, this is an artist. Luca Lorenza from Germany, please come to the stage.
Thank you so much, and hello everyone. Thank you so much to the whole Wildlife Photographer of the Year team for this award. It feels absolutely crazy and surreal to be here in front of all you wonderful people, and I want the fragility of nature to the world and for being such great role models to me. I watched this awards ceremony for the first time when I was 13 years old, back home from Berlin, and it's just the biggest and greatest honor for me to be here tonight. I'd like to dedicate my award. They are definitely the reason I'm doing all of this. And when in the same year I watched the award ceremony for the first time, I became vegan, and that's and that's simply because I love animals so much, and maybe I'd like to dedicate my award to all of them. Well, thank you so much again. This means the world, and I hope you have a great evening.
Seriously, one to watch, I think, in the future. He's going to be winning this competition in no time, I'm sure. Now, we have a show of talent this year from the Young Wildlife Photographers of the Year. And, you know, I've been presenting these awards now for a few years, and the Young category every seat with some incredible images. The judges chose 22, which is with some incredible images. The judges chose 22, which is an absolute record breaker. A beautiful... I absolutely love the composition of this image. It's something creative, it's different. You see having a little scratch at its beak. Gorgeous. A fearsome Caribbean whip spider. Now I think some species are just named better. That beautiful Ferocum portrait. A longhorn beetle at a scene of a logging devastation site. Now this is a photo that speaks 1,000 words. It's hard not to anthropomorphize, but human emotion on this image as that longhorn beetle looks out over its habitat being destroyed. Next up, a very artful image of a spoonbill flying over flamingos. I love this slow exposure. You've got that line of pink, the different contrasting colors, but just with a spoonbill flying. I love a spoonbill. One of my favorite things, what you call a baby spoonbill? A teaspoon. You can use that next time. And yeah, I love a spoonbill. One of my favorite things, what you call a baby spoonbill? A teaspoon. You can use that next. It's very iconic, but this photo for me is great. It takes out the detail, but you can clearly, same photographer, we have got that textured ruff. Vultures are one of the most misunderstood animals, and this is a fantastic image to highlight them. Then we've got a green turtle consuming a lion's mane's jellyfish. Incredible to get this photograph. I think it's brilliant. The photographer, I think, got stung twice and said, well, it was worthwhile for the shot, and I couldn't agree more. We've got a cruising blue shark. I am a big fan of blue sharks, one of the most widely distributed species of shark anywhere in the world. And when you're in the water and the sunlight shines on them, they're this electric blue color. This is a gorgeous side profile of that photographer. This was actually last year's grand title winner. Now, I do love a ladybird spider, that vivid red color, those 4 dots on its abdomen there. Again, you can see the detail in those eyes, the chelicerae, everything, just looking ready to hunt. Last but very definitely not least, we've got mating long-jawed orb weaver spiders locked in, about to mate, the smaller male and the larger female there. Get really locked in. I love the colors there, larger female there. Get really locked in. I love the colors there, the composition, how they've perfectly lined it up. It's an absolute stunning image. It is, of course, the magnificent longhorn beetle. This beetle appears to be looking down over a scene of destruction. The scene that the photographer came upon in the mountains of central Italy, a logged forest with overgrown birch trees. Now, these longhorn beetles will spend years developing as larvae in dead wood before they emerge as adults. So dead wood, these old ancient forest habitats, are incredibly important. But having that longhorn beetle large in the frame, watching over the new world, the sad, devastating new world that is being created right in front of it. With no old growth trees, no dead wood, there will be no beetles like the longhorn beetle. And this is a very powerful message. It's crafted in composition, and the picture really does make you think. So Andrea Dominici from Italy, please come to the stage.
Hi. Wow, it's incredible to be here. I didn't expect about that. Sorry, I'm anxious a little bit. Thank you. It's a big emotion to be here, especially with this photo, because it's taken near my home at a normal beetle. It's a simple Morimus asper, a really common longhorn beetle. But the things I like about this photo is that can talk about a lot of story about the loss of habitat. Sorry, about the loss of habitat. In this case, we have this longhorn beetle and all the catalog, but I don't know, also a tiger in India can lose his habitat, a fish in Australia, I don't know. Everywhere this can happen. So with this photo, I like to show this universal story. And for this, I like to thank my family that permit me to carry on this passion. My photographer friends that help me a lot of times with my photographer, and a lot of times they carry me on their car, so thank you. And an Italian association through which I meet them, Weldita, is really fundamental for my photography. And I really like to thank also all the people that are here, the judge, and the contest is beautiful, the contest, the museum, all the photo. So thank you so much, all. Thank you.
That's definitely one of the photos that's going to stick with you for a little while, isn't it? Next up, we've got photographers aged 11 to 14 years old, offering 7 different images, very different styles of photography. First up, we have an ibex at dawn situated in the French Alps. I love this, the lighting contrasted with the ruggedness of that landscape. I heard a few oohs there, and rightly so. I think it's an absolute beautiful scenic image. Here we have a little egret on an icy February morning. We've all been there when we've been wrapped up. We've all felt that in our coats and jackets, and you can really get that feeling of the cold there, with all those feathers puffed up to keep in the air and keep them nice and warm. A bordered duster moth camouflaged on bark. Now this is a photograph that makes you look a few times. It is perfectly camouflaged, one of evolution's utmost finest miracles. I mean, look at that. You'd walk past that and never see it in a million years unless you're really looking and devoted to capturing its beauty. And it's absolutely incredible. We have a brown bear in the volcanic Russian Far East. Now I love this. You've got that mirrored bear with the mountain above and the bird flying off. I think it is gorgeously framed. I love the black and white use here, and those lovely clouds make it nice and fluffy to, again, contrast that harsher environment. A horned lark in a sandstorm. Now this is an environment which is, of course, a little bit tough for a small bird, but my gosh, isn't that beautiful? The texture of the background, the yellow there of the lark coming through beautifully. I love the colors, the blue and the yellow, perfectly composed. Here we've got a tale of one coyote greeting another. Now, of course, coyotes have all kinds of different socializations. They're very confident with each other, their vocalizations, how they communicate, and of course, sniffing around the tail area is quite prominent. But those golden eyes there on show is a lovely photograph. And here we have the Indian stingless bees guarding their nest entrance. Yeah, I've had the same response as well. Very, very sweet. Those little heads peeking out, protecting, of course, keeping an eyeful watch for any predator that may come their way, doing their job very diligently. But who is the winner of this category? It's a very hard decision again, and I'm very pleased to announce that the winner is this absolute stunning landscape. The muted golden tones. The muted golden tones at first light, in contrast with the still dark alpine peaks, the mist that rises from the valley below. While absorbing the scene, you realize that there is an ibex perfectly situated in the frame, reclining on its lookout. It's the pinnacle, and below it, of course, the horns of another appear. It takes a lot of imagination and patience for a photographer to get an image like this, and you have to be incredibly determined as a mountaineer, and also just take as much time as you can to get the light right, and I have to say, it really paid off. So Lubin Godin from France, please come up to the stage.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to apologize for my very strong French accent. I really don't speak very good English. I would really like to thank the jury and all the people who have made it possible for this competition to exist. I would also like to thank my parents, because without them, I would not be here this evening. Last year was the first time I took part in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year. To have a photo in the final was more of a dream than an objective for me. So to have 2 photos selected, of which one is a winner from my second attempt, it's just unbelievable. Thank you all once again.
Oh, I said it was a good year, didn't I? The final Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year category is for the youngest demographic. They might be little, but my goodness, do they show big potential. This is for people aged 10 years and under. And we have 6 images by 3 photographers from Spain, the UK, and India, all shot right on their home patch on the ground. And I love that, getting to know your home area the most. Here we've got a female stone chat on a milk thistle hunting perch. Often they'll get a vantage point, they'll come up there to look for caterpillars, like this juicy one it's got in its beak, where they'll then take the plunge or then come back to eat it in the safety as well. Love the colours of that photograph. A red deer stag roaring his status to other males. Now, this is phenomenal, isn't it? Now, of course, we know in the autumn, when the rutting behaviour begins, red deer start to produce this incredible bellow that goes for kilometres, establishing their territory and protecting females. Beautiful antlers on that male, fantastically composed image. A field grasshopper at the base of grass stems. Now, when you get a close-up look at a grasshopper, you realize how many colors are on them. Absolutely beautiful, those big eyes, that big chunky face, and it's perfectly camouflaged. You just walk past it and it blends into the dried grass below as well. A lot of patience for that image because they move around a lot. Quite hard to get a photo of a good grasshopper, so that's incredible. Next up, an orb weaver spider in its silk retreat. Oh, I love it. Those dewy droplets that glisten like glitter around it as it nestled in. It looks nice and comfortable and cozy. Again, I don't like to anthropomorphize, but I just did then because it just does look so comfortable. The red behind it, giving it a bit of depth as well. Beautiful photo. And a Saurus crane, the world's tallest flying bird. This is a beautiful bird, and to get a photograph of it amongst the grass is a real achievement. It's stunning with that red ring around its neck. Up next, we've got a purple swamp hen being driven off driving off a jacana. Now, jacanas are fantastic little birds, but my goodness, it doesn't take much to flush them. So to get this photograph with both birds that are pin sharp is excellent. Again, another hard choice for the judges. So who the winner is? Well, it's a pleasure to announce that the winner for the youngest Wildlife Photographer of the Year category is this gorse orb weaver spider in its dew-strangled silken retreat. At just 9 years old when she took this photo, this photographer is already incredibly skilled in macro work, which, as I'm sure all of you know, is a challenge in itself. Bringing out the detail and the tapestry of colors with the natural light and carefully using her flash is a real talent. It's a real jewel of a shot. So Jamie Smart from the UK, please come up to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. As this competition win means so much to me, I wanted to write something really special for you all this evening. I hope you like it. I remember discovering when I was very young about a competition that was second to none. In the National Museum in London, no less. 'Twas a dream of mine to win, I have to confess. Who was to know that one misty morning was going to create an image so rewarding? A cute little spider covered in dew, living its life, harming but few. Now standing here under Hope the whale, it feels I'm part of a fairy tale. How fortunate we are for this magnificent event. Thank goodness they chose not to host it in a tent. I wish to thank many people tonight. It's not a long list, so you'll be all right. To the judges and organizers, thank you so much. The deco in here is such a wonderful touch. To all who have supported me in my journey so far, many thanks to you, wherever you are. I must give my thanks to my mum and dad who've been there for me when times have been bad. Our time spent in nature brings smiles to our souls, each one of us here having similar goals. To show beauty and wildlife to the world beyond, through our photography to unite and bond. Never give up, always be strong, believe in your dreams, keep fighting on. And finally, to all you finalists who have made it here tonight, congratulations, I say, and have a great night. Thank you.
Well, don't know what to say after that. Wasn't that beautiful? I'm actually very speechless. Well done, Jamie. Absolutely amazing. I think we should all go home now, actually. I think there's no point in anyone continuing anymore. Oh, that was absolutely lovely. Oh, dear, I need to gather myself. Very special moment, very poignant words. And now we have the first grand title winner, the finale of the categories for the Young Photographers, the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2025. Let's remind ourselves of the three contenders. So we've got Andrea Dominici from Italy with this absolutely epic photograph of the longhorn beetle. We've got Lubin Godin from France. This beautiful landscape, that use of light there. And of course, Jamie Smart from the UK. Now, it's been an incredibly difficult thing to judge, a very hard decision to crown the overall winner. But to announce the winner, I'm glad it's not me, I'd like to welcome a member of the jury, a multi-award winning photographer and Wildlife Photographer of the Year alumni, Andy Parkinson.
I wish I was as confident as Jamie Smart is. Good evening, everyone. In a world facing unprecedented challenges, the importance and the responsibility that sits on the shoulders of tomorrow's storytellers is more consequential than ever. Reflecting on the astonishing standard of images that the judges saw this year, I remain hopeful of the positive and much needed change that can be elicited by the work of these prodigious talents. As judges, we were frequently split as we agonized over our choices, but with this decision, we were completely unanimous. It is the honor of my life to announce that the winner of the Young Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2025 is Andrea Dominici.
Wow. Before, before was incredible, now it's more incredible. And I don't know, I talk about the photo, I talk about who I am, the word. I talk about the people important for this, and I don't know, so thanks you all again. And yeah, I'm really, 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 really happy for this achievement, that this photo reached all these people and a lot out of this museum, because it's taken near my home, I said, with a simple subject, and I said, but I haven't word, I don't know what, what I can say. Thank you, and yeah, thank you.
Well, I hope there's been, well, I'm sure there's been a few images there that are going to sit with you for a while, that will take a while to digest, think about, and really love, because I know I'm going to be thinking about those photographs for quite a long time. But that brings us to halfway through the ceremony, and it has been a magnificent collection of images so far. We're now going to take a short break, so we'll be back soon. In the meantime, I'd love for you to enjoy this year's images from the Wildlife Photographer of the Year Naveen People's Choice Award 2026. We'll see you soon.
Good evening. The awards ceremony will resume in 5 minutes. Good evening. The awards ceremony will resume in 5 minutes.
Guests, would you kindly take your seats as this evening is about to continue?
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to return to your tables and take a seat? It's like herding cats. Please return to your tables and take your seats. We are eager to start part 2. Can I ask you to return to your tables, please? Karine, I'm picking on you to make an example of you. Well, I'm not going to repeat what you said, but would you please sit down? Could everyone please return to their tables and have a seat? Can you pronounce my name correctly? I don't know, but I could change it into something much ruder. Okay. My goodness me. I never imagined myself as a primary school teacher. I was sat in the interval and I was thinking, if only whales' skeletons could talk. I wonder what that magnificent skeleton would say to us. I wonder what it could tell us about its journey around the planet. Who knows? Maybe it surfaced alongside the ships at Trafalgar. Maybe it swam in the warm seas off the coast of Madagascar. And then I thought to myself, it's just as well that whale skeletons can't hear, because I heard some news about the sea today. It says here, in a damning new report released on Monday, 160 international researchers warned that as a result of boiling ocean temperatures, warm water coral reefs, such as Australia's Great Barrier Reef, have passed a point of no return, and the majority are now expected to decline. There's not one of us in this room that didn't know that that was a potential reality. My question to you, to all of us, is are we going to really let them destroy everything we love? Are we? Or are we going to stand up and do what we need to do at this critical point in life on Earth's history to protect it? We know what we've got to do, but we're not yet doing enough. Can I call upon you, every single one of you, to set your alarm clocks 5 minutes earlier in every day and spend that 5 minutes doing something, stepping up slightly harder and further to make a difference. This is it. We're in our last chance. One of the 7 tipping points has been tipped. We've got to act now to make a difference. And one of the ways that we do that is recognizing and fueling our desire to make those differences because of the way that we feel about the natural world. And one of our triggers when it comes to the natural world is its beauty. We can focus on the fascinating. We can tell you all sorts of strange things about caterpillars and cocoons. But ultimately, one of the things that drags us out of our beds, causes us to pick up our lenses and focus our interest, is the simple beauty of nature. And in this first category that we're going to focus on in the second half, the Portfolio Award, we have 6 images which are undeniably simple but beautiful. They are painterly images of the remote Arctic region that most of us will never, ever see. Look at these. abstract in their nature. The photographer said that they thought this one looked like Van Gogh's Starry, Starry Night. But there's an element of abstract expressionism in here too. I see bits of Robert Motherwell, Jackson Pollock, even a bit of Rothko in some of them. You don't need to see the devil in the detail here. You don't need to be able to see every one of those plants. You don't need to be able to put a taxonomic name on it. We look at these, and the colour and the shapes and the forms are what gives us simple joy. Simple joy, as I've said, that gets us out of bed. We've got to stand up. We've got to make that difference. And one of the ways we can do that is by celebrating the simple beauty of nature. And this photographer has done that in exemplary form. So the winner of our Portfolio Award this year is none other than Alexei Haratonov from Russia. Alexei, please come to the stage.
Thank you. Honestly, I can still believe it. So many thanks to everyone who has been organizing, running, judging, supporting this incredible event for 61 years. I participating in some competitions, but the respectful and caring attitude to all participants is truly motivating and inspiring. WPI team do an amazing job, I think. It allows millions not only to see the beauty of hard-to-reach places, but also to see in a new light the charm and the magic of places that might seem ordinary. I wish to everyone in this hall, to all the participants, to all the spectators, and to everyone who loves nature and who cares about it, may the beauty will be with you, and may beauty save the peace on earth. Thank you.
Okay, now we're moving on to a very different set of photographs. These are taken by photographers who go to the coalface of conservation, if you like. These are photographs that sometimes I hear people say to me, I don't want to look at them. Well, that does an enormous disservice to the photographers that have gone out there to take them. Because rather than just looking at them on a screen, they've lived the experience, they've been there. They've not only seen it, they've heard it, they've smelt it, maybe they've even touched it. So I think we owe these photographers a duty when it comes to making sure that we allow their photographs to have the impact that they desire. So some of these pictures are tough, but that's what it's about. These are our photojournalism category images. There were 5 in this particular category. First up, there's this image, a remarkable drone photograph of an elephant scavenging on a Sri Lankan rubbish tip. And I'm tempted to make a joke and say it would make a fantastic 10,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, but only if the proceeds went to conservation. What about this one? This is really cold and sterile, apart from that one little ruby of organic life, the fetus of a southern white rhino lying on that plastic. Next up is an orphaned anteater. Anteaters, giant anteaters, very sadly, are very often hit by cars on Brazilian road. And because the young travel on the backs of the adult females, often the females are killed The young are thrown to the side of the road where they're picked up. And here is one that's being rehabilitated, and I draw your attention to its claws on its front feet, which are bandaged. Next up, this one. This looks like a trophy, but it's not a trophy. It's a zebra head that's been snared and then butchered to be eaten. And I can tell you that every year, 1,140 tons of wild meat are eaten in Lusaka, the capital of Zambia, which is where this photograph was taken. 1,140 tons in just one city in Africa. This picture doesn't really need much to say, except that it was taken in a Chinese tiger farm. And the fate of this tiger was to be a breeding machine for tiger cubs that could be petted until they were too big, when they were slaughtered for their skin and their body parts for traditional medicine. And here's a shocking stat for you. I'm sure you probably know it. If you don't, I'll just refresh the figures in your mind. There are 9,000 tigers like this in farms, and there are 1,600 in Thailand, where this photograph was taken, and there are, we think, 3,140 left in the wild. It's a very powerful image indeed. They're all very powerful images. So which one did the judges choose as a winner? Well, it was this photograph, the photograph of the white rhino fetus. I don't know what went through the judge's mind when they were making the decision. I'll tell you what goes through mine. Initially, when you look at this, it's a photograph of horror. The fetus is dead. But this is also a photograph about hope. You see, the northern white rhino is functionally extinct. There are just females, last males died. However, scientists have harvested the sperm and the eggs from those animals. They have fertilized embryos, and they are going to make a pioneering effort to insert those embryos into female southern white rhinos. But before they do that, they have to get that technique right. And this is one of those trials. Now, on this occasion, the fetus died, indeed the adult animal died, but nothing to do with this procedure. It was an associated infection. This is about pioneering science. This is about putting the sea in conservation. This is about making a difference. And ultimately, although it looks horrific, it is a photograph which is imbued with hope. John Juarez from Spain, please come to the stage and collect your award.
Okay, what to say? Thank you, Chris, for this introduction. I mean, it's great to be here. It's been 208 days, 10 hours, and about 20 minutes thinking about how I would feel standing here in front of you. And it's been much better than I ever imagined. I mean, it's fantastic. Thank you so much to the jury and also the museum for organizing all of this. This picture is the result of more than 10 years of teamwork. Teamwork in a group of people, a group of scientists, vets, caretakers, rangers, who didn't want to give up hope, who didn't to let others take the control and decided to be the ones trying to make a difference. And I'm very thankful that I was able to witness this moment, but I also was able to be inspired by all of their work and passion. I believe that stories like this remind us that hope is not just only naive, but also it's necessary. But it also must be followed by action. We need positive stories just as much as we need solutions these days. I want to thank Professor Hildebrand from the Leibniz Institute for Zoo and Wildlife Research for allowing me and my partner Elena to be part of this project for more than 6 years now. I also want to thank my whole colleagues at the Leibniz Institute for Zoo and Wildlife Research
for all their work, dedication to protect species, to protect biodiversity and help understand better nature. It's actually so inspiring to see that people are not giving up. I also want to thank my family for believing in me unconditionally. But above all, I want to thank you, Elena. You're my favorite journalist. And without you, I wouldn't literally be standing here. Collaborating with you is just fantastic. You're an inspiration both personally and professionally. Thank you very much.
Next up is the Photojournalist Story Award, and it's given for a story of 6 equally strong, creative, striking images. And this year, the collection focuses on, unfortunately, one of the most hated animals in the southern parts of the United States, rattlesnakes. I love rattlesnakes, always love rattlesnakes personally. However, the story opens with this portrait of a magnificent black-tailed rattlesnake. This is a good news story because this was rescued. It was in the middle of the road. And the rescuer put it on the side of the road, and the photographer was able to take this photograph, extolling the beauty of these fantastic snakes. But I'm afraid the situation goes downhill from here. This is one of those rattlesnake roundups that take place in the United States. Thankfully, the number of them is declining, but what we see here is a pit full of rattlesnakes being gawped at by children. Some are suffocated, some are taken out and beheaded, some are eaten, most are skinned. Next up, we've got this image, and here we have that skinning in process. I mean, this is a tough one, isn't it? This is where education has failed. This is a young person who's living in a world where a tipping point's been reached, and we're in deep, deep, deep trouble, but that message hasn't got to that point. There's also this image. Rattlesnakes are not loathed by everyone, they're loved by some, and they're kept in captivity. They're cherished. I won't call them pets, but people collect them, and this is a rattlesnake collector. Some species are imperiled by collection for the pet trade. So what's the good news? Well, there's a bit of good news in that some of these rattlesnakes are milked for their venom. As a consequence of that, people can get treatment if they're bitten by rattlesnakes, although I've got to tell you the number of people bitten by rattlesnakes who die in the United States is less than the number of people who are struck by lightning. So they may be disliked, but they're not exactly terribly dangerous. And then last up, this image, which is of an educational roundup. So here the rattlesnakes are alive, they're brought in by rattlesnake hunters, and they are asked that they be returned to the wild. So here we have education in action. This young person is looking at this specimen of a rattlesnake and learning about its beauty and the role that it plays in a functional ecosystem and how important it is. It's a very powerful set of images about a remarkable snake that needs a lot more care than harm. Xavier Aznar from Spain was the photographer. Xavier, please come to the stage.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you to the juries for select these images, and especially because they are giving a voice to some of the most underrated and unprotected species in the world, that usually are the snakes, because they have been killed and persecuted by humans for centuries, and today they are having a voice. So I feel really grateful for that. I especially want to say thank you to National Geographic because they grant me to do the story, and especially the people who helped me to do the story. One of them is inside of this room, Nick Kanakis. Thank you so much for all your help and for keeping my fingers safe from the snakes. Thank you to my editor, Kaya Burnett, that is not here today, but I'm really grateful that he accompanied during this trip. And to all my friends that have helped me on all the way. Thank you so much.
Now we've got an extra prize, a bonus prize. It's been selected by the jury for a single commended image with a positive story, one that's providing hope when there may not be so much hope about. And we're calling it our Impact Award. And to present the Impact Award, one of India's premier wildlife filmmakers and founder of Women of Wild India, jury member Akunsha Sood Singh. Akunsha.
Good evening. Thank you. The image we chose for the Impact Award is titled Orphan of the Road. It shows an orphaned giant anteater following its caretaker in a rehabilitation center in Belo Horizonte in Brazil. This orphan walks in the shadow of a tragedy. Its mother was hit and killed by a vehicle. And this is the fate of many giant anteaters, partly because of their poor eyesight. In this image, in the simple act of following, there is a story of loss and resilience, and there is hope. Hope that compassion can bridge the gap between destruction and healing. Orphan of the Road reminds us that coexistence is not a choice. It is our responsibility. Congratulations, Fernando Facioli from Brazil. Please come to collect your award.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for this award. It's super important for me to be here tonight. First, to give this so well-deserved stage for the giant anteaters. This is a story I have been documenting for the past 3 years. And as you said, it's a story of struggle because they are facing a hard time with the road collisions in Brazil. But it's also a story of hope. There is a very nice outcome for this story that I have a feeling that you know more very soon. And yeah, I just have some nice news. This pup that I photographed almost 2 years ago, right now, in 2 weeks from now, it's finally going to be reintroduced to nature. So yeah. It's an example on how people dedicating their lives to protect these animals, they can change the life of one individual, but also a whole species. And for me personally, it's a great pleasure to be here tonight, receiving this award that shows me that I'm the right path to make an impact with my images. And I just want to say thank you for my family back home and here that are supporting me, for the museum, for the jury, for selecting my image, also for the International League of Conservation Photographers that first believed in my work since early days in my career. And more recently to National Geographic Society to also welcome to this amazing family. So thank you very much.
Okay, now we're on to another one of our very popular categories, animals in their environment. It's fiercely fought. We have 6 different images for you on this occasion. The first one is this striking and beautiful image of a great blue heron standing amongst the shadows in a swamp. Really is sort of standing in the shadows of midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, isn't it? It's a stunning, stunning image. Next up, by the same photographer, this beautiful, painterly image of giraffes sheltering in the woodland in a rainstorm. And then when it comes to rain and spume and spray, we always love a bit of that. How about this? Here are some fulmars nesting behind the spray of an Icelandic waterfall. And now, a sea lion, well, not so much a sea lion, but a lion by the sea, guarding a fur seal carcass on which it was feeding, taken on the Namibian coast, a very unusual setting for a very regal-looking lioness there. A drone image of fledgling emperor penguins on an Antarctic ice shelf, contemplating their first jump. This is an image that also tells a story of climate breakdown. As their habitat is rapidly changing, their ability to get back to the sea when they need to fledge is compromised by those changes. And then lastly, this image of a moray eel slipping out of the sea to scavenge at low tide. And if you're into natural history, Trivial Pursuit, I can tell you that moray eels are able to do this because they have pharyngeal jaws. You see, most fish need suction to swallow their food, so therefore they can only swallow food in the water. But the pharyngeal jaws, that's the jaws at the back of what we might consider normal jaws, which aid the assistance of food into the stomach, are possessed by the moray eel, and thus it can feed out of water. So it's a highly unusual piece of behaviour. Okay, which of the images was the winner? Well, it was that unusual behaviour for a fish. It was that Seychelles Island where the photographer discovered that these peppered moray eels would emerge onto the strand line to scavenge their prey, but they would only stay out of water for a very short time, and they were very, very shy. So the photographer needed to perfect the noble art of eel stalking. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever done any eel stalking, but the man who's done it with great aplomb and taken this fantastic photograph is Shane Gross from Canada. So please, Shane, come and collect your award.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Chris, for taking most of my speech. I was going to talk about their jaws for most of the time, but he's caught us up on all that. And thank you to the jury for recognizing, once again, a fairly uncharismatic photographer. But mostly, I'd like to thank the Save Our Seas Foundation. The Save Our Seas Foundation runs an ocean storytelling photography grant, which is a great opportunity for emerging photographers, and it allowed me to go to the Seychelles to document this behavior and many others. But more than that, they, through science, through advocacy, they created a marine protected area, a no-take marine protected area. Nothing can come out of this area. And that is perhaps the best tool we have for fighting all the problems that we're discussing tonight. So raise a glass to the Save Our Seas Foundation and everybody protecting our amazing planet. Thank you.
Now, I can't let this moment pass without telling you an amusing story, and that is that this behaviour, exhibited by the moray eel, has been studied in captivity by scientists. So basically, had captive moray eels in tanks, and to coax them out of the water, they clamped squid above the tanks and provided the eels with a ramp. They published their paper, and as Shane says, not terribly charismatic animal, so it sort of slipped under the radar until the New York Times in 2021 came up with one of the greatest headlines of all time. When an eel climbs a ramp to eat squid from a clamp, that's a moray. Hey, New York Times, doing great stuff. Next up, we come to natural artistry. And these pictures are judged solely really on their artistic component. So they can be of any species in any setting at any time. And they can have a range of varied camera techniques. We've got 6 images to show you. The first is this elephant in Kenyan woodland. The photographers wiggled the lens. And here in this striking and very beautiful black and white image, it's therefore veiled in vegetation. Reminded me somewhat of a Peter Beard photograph, an homage to Peter Beard. I would argue better than some of Peter Beard's pictures, actually. It's a stunning, stunning picture. What about this one? This one defies the eye. Initially, you're tempted to think that this is a science fiction view looking up through some tall trees into a starry sky. Couldn't be further from that. It's soft coral, and it's its branches and its star-like expanded tentacles. Look at that, that's exquisitely beautiful. And then what about this one? Shape-shifting slime molds and their capsules. Again, something from another world. So many of us never get down on our hands and knees with the microscopic ability to look at these sorts of things. Stunning, stunning. What about this orb spider on a bridge? So it made its web on a bridge because there were lots of insects flying through the railings. These are traffic lights which have produced the sparkles, and the photographer has captured the spider in exactly the right place. This is another one of those ethereal photographs. A carpet of snowflake flowers with a superimposed reflection of the canopy above. You don't know if you're looking at the sky or the ground. In fact, you're looking at both. Very clever picture. Would have made a brilliant Cocteau Twins album cover in the 1980s, I think. Yeah. And then this one. This is a piece of ice art, not made by the photographer, but spotted by the photographer. And as you can see there, it looks like a reclining swan. It's a frozen bog puddle in Iceland. So a tough choice again for our jury. Which one of the natural artistry photographs wins for 2025? Well, it is this photograph of the orb spider. This photograph took some planning and some taking. Firstly, the photographer identified the spot and the potential, looking at the lights, the way they picked up on the web. But then they reassembled an old anamorphic lens, and they reversed one of the elements, so it had a very, very small depth of field and produced this wonderful bokeh. I had to get the word in at some point in the evening, because we all as photographers love a bit of bokeh, don't we? So there, managed to capture that, shifted it slightly to one side, set that animal off-center, made this beautiful composition, and again, worthy of an 80s romantic cover for some ethereal band. The spider, of course, was profiting all the way along by those lights attracting more insects. The photographer was Simona Baumeister from Germany. Simona, come and collect your prize.
Wow, this means a lot to me. I'm honestly overjoyed and so grateful to be standing here tonight. The image that was selected tonight is actually one I took right outside my front door, and it shows a species that you can find almost everywhere. And it reminds me that sometimes we don't need to travel far to discover the beauty of nature. I'd like to thank the jury and all the organizers, both in front of and behind the scenes, who made this wonderful event possible. You made celebrations like this truly special. And of course, congratulations to all the other amazing photographers here. Thank you.
Megs, take over.
Some fantastic images there, of course. So whilst I let Chris just take a breather and recover over those incredible photographs, I'm going to talk to you about the next 5 categories. Now remember, every category winner is a contender for the Grand Title Award. So keep your bets open. Keep thinking who that might be. So my first category for this section is the urban wildlife, which is images of wildlife taken in a human-dominated landscape, something we're all too familiar with seeing. We have 5 very different images, 3 of which are from India. First up, though, we have this gorgeous brown hyena in a deserted diamond mining town on the edge of the Namib Desert. Now, brown hyena is incredibly solitary, elusive, hard to see photograph. I've had the pleasure of filming with them a few times, so to get the patience for this photograph is truly outstanding. A brown-throated, 3-toed sloth crossing the road for fresh leaves and finding fence posts, not trees to climb. An all too familiar sight as deforestation continues. These sloths, which rely on the high canopies, are forced down, often seen on electrocution lines where they are sadly electrocuted, and on fence posts as well, like this one. Incredibly sad, but a poignant image to think about. An Indian leopard seeking shelter from the heat in an abandoned house in India. Now, of course, in the midst of summer, it's incredibly hot, and finding peace, seclusion for a nice, quiet, safe rest is important, even from the utmost of predators. A corner of the Western Gnats, a king cobra, the world's largest venomous snake, seeking refuge from dogs inside a house. Of course, people are a little concerned to see this incredible reptile hiding behind the door, but you see these animals are ones that will be relatively quiet, relatively well, they won't display stressful behavior unless, of course, they feel they're backed into a bit of a corner, which, of course, dogs and being behind a door in someone's house might do. Next up, large fruit bats exiting their roost in a historic Indian monument in the Western Gnats. Beautiful to get photographs of bats. I'm sure many people have attempted to get good photos of bats. I know I have. And I'll hold my hands up and say I have failed spectacularly. So to get this image, all that composition, all of those different bats, to see the details, that thin, translucent membrane, it's absolutely beautiful. The winning image is, again, I would not have wanted to judge this category, very hard. It is, of course, this magical photo of a ghostly brown hyena beside once abandoned house. I think for me, it's the light in this photo, the dust that's almost coming off that house. And it makes you ask questions, doesn't it? What was that house used for? Did anyone live in it? Why was it abandoned? And why is that hyena there? Brown hyenas, as I said before, are quite solitary. They're very elusive, and they mainly feed on fur seal pups. But yet the coast where the seal colonies are at least a couple days' travel away from this site in the desert. So why is a hyena visiting an abandoned diamond mining town? Is there perhaps a den there? Is it a safe place? Well, the photographer has visited over many years and seen hyena footprints, and it was 10 whole years before this moment of serendipity happened. The patience, the determination to get this image is just mind-boggling. And as the sea fog rolled in, illuminated by a distant floodlight, a hyena walked into frame at just the right spot. The cameras, the lights were triggered just 3 times, but only once did it have to be a hyena in the frame. Now please welcome to the stage, all the way from South Africa, Wim van der Heuvel.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Standing here tonight is an immense honor for me. Never in a million years did I ever think that I would actually get to this point where I'd be standing here. My photograph tells a very simple story, and that is that wildlife is not something distant or distracted from us. If we look in our cities and urban areas, we'll find wildlife living right next to us, opening the doors for coexistence. Wildlife photography for me is a way to connect with the beautiful animals that walk the face of this planet. And it gives us time to stop and reflect and soak in those moments. Animals deserve space and respect and compassion. I'd like to thank the Natural History Museum as well as all the judges. I'd like to thank my family for their undying support with me traveling the globe. And guys, it's a wonderful moment for you to be here. So thank you so much for everyone. It's great. Thank you.
Now we come to a category which I think is sometimes a little bit underrated, but personally, it's one of my favorites. It's creative, it's different, it's of course plants and fungi. Now, as you'll see, the judges have favored strange and wonderful perspectives, something I absolutely adore. We often see the plant world, our flora, and of course fungi, as something out of this world. And when you see it from different perspectives using creative imagery, it really is the case. It's mysterious and extraordinary, and it's something few of us ever really get to realize for ourselves. They're, of course, the foundation on which all animals depend. And they manipulate animals in ways that we're only beginning to understand, how plants communicate with each other, how they send signals, how they really do challenge the fauna world. So photographers, I'm going to put a plea out for you for next year. We want to see more of these incredible plants and fungi, so please go out, get a few projects on the go, start sending those images into us. But we have a very strong category for you this year. We've got 3 incredible contenders. First up, a southern polypod fern illuminated by ultraviolet torchlight. Its spores, capsules reflect just like stars, and you see those beautiful colors. Of course, a lot of the plant world you can see in ultraviolet light. It illuminates all these colors which we can't see with our natural eye, and this almost alien avatar-looking world is brought to life. A bearded hedgehog fungus, fantastic name for a fungus, if I do say so. A scarce species in Europe needing humidity and old trees to feed on. See the spikes on that fungus there make it obviously look very much like a hedgehog. You can see where it gets its name. And incredibly rare, of course, we talked earlier on about that longhorn beetle needing dead wood, old trees. So we need to be making sure that we protect these old habitats for fungus like this. The deadly allure of the Borneo pitcher plant in ultraviolet light, revealing its insect-attracting slippery lips and lid. Now again, this is just magical. I mean, you couldn't draw this if you tried, could you? That ultraviolet light bringing to life a world that we so often don't get to see because we judge the natural world by our own parameters, what we can see, hear, taste, smell, feel. But actually, when you look through the world lens of a plant, or at least try to, it's so much bigger than what we give it credit for. And the winner is, I'm very pleased to say, the otherworldly pitcher plant. Most insects can, of course, see in ultraviolet light, which is why plants have co-evolved with insects to be able to communicate using UV. And we, of course, can't see that. So the photographer used a UV torch to reveal how this Borneo species of pitcher might possibly look to an insect, something we can only really dream of. And this really takes us a step forward into that realization. It's, of course, the insects are attracted to it by its scent and then by its fluorescence. But the trap is incredibly slippery, so any possible prey will eventually fall and die in a pool of digestive fluids. The fluorescent colors can only be revealed in the dark, but to show the plant in its setting, with a tiny bit of daylight was needed. So the photographer used a long exposure, which lasted a couple minutes of dusk, to create this otherworldly image. So all the way from Borneo, please welcome to the stage, Chen Li.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. To say that it's a great honor to be here is a huge understatement. And to have your work recognized among so much incredible photography, it's very inspirational and very humbling at the same time. This subject of carnivorous pitcher plants is something that is very deeply personal for me. It was actually a passion for pitcher plants that incited me to move to the island of Borneo 30 years ago, and that forever changed my life. And when we think about nature, we often sometimes think about how we can change nature, but sometimes we forget how nature changes us. Coming all the way from Borneo, which is a magic place to live, it's such an inspirational place to work, but at times it feels very isolating, especially in terms of being among the creative community. And I know a lot of other photographers in this room that have also come from very faraway places. And this is one of the things that makes WPY such a special event. Not only is it something that we have that we can showcase the stories behind nature and conservation stories, but also it's a way to bring together this community that cares so passionately about the wild part of the planet. And I'm hugely grateful to the team of WPY for making this happen and bringing everybody together. I'm also very thankful to my family, my mother and father, my wife, who've supported me, been very patient, and dealt with muddy clothes and leeches and everything in between, and supported me this whole time. When this photo was taken, my son was 6 weeks from being born, and I'd like to dedicate this to him. It sounds cliche, but we often say that, we want nature to be around for our children and our grandchildren to be able to see these things. It's almost a bit selfish in a human-centric way of looking at the natural world, but it's something that you really experience personally when you have a child yourself. And I really hope that our next generation is able to experience this magic the same way that we do. Thank you.
Now we come to a very important category in today's overheated and freshwater depleted world. This is Wetlands, the big picture. Pictures can represent any freshwater environment, whether it be mountaintop bogs, one of my personal favorites, or estuary wetlands. And there are 4 photographs in the running. First up, we've got clouds reflected in the salt ponds of San Francisco Bay, now being returned to a functioning wetland estuary. You have to look at this photo a couple times to understand the perspective and see there are little houses there, and the reflection of those massive clouds is absolutely epic. Honestly, I stood by this photo for about 10 minutes, just absolutely astounded by the perspective this gives. Here we've got bubbles rising from algae in the surface pool of an Austrian alpine bog. Yeah, look at that, glistening bubbles of algae glitter in the water, that electric green color. You can just almost imagine like reaching out and touching it and what that texture would be like. Absolutely beautiful. I love the shades of green. Of course, humans can see more shades of green than any other. It really draws us in, and this photo does that for me. Long-nosed gar in a mating chase in a spring-fed Florida river. Oh, look at that. Imagine being that close and the patience you have to wait. Of course, these fish are very skitty. Anyone that's ever tried to photograph freshwater fish, it's a challenge again. You have to be incredibly still, incredibly patient, almost wait for them to come to you to check you out, just as you're there to check them out. This is a stunning image. And an organic floating garden in Bangladesh, developed to counter increased flooding resulting from climate change. Again, that top perspective really just shows you the juxtaposition of everything that's being harvested, the natural world, and how we are using it. I love these drone images taken from above, looking down, and the winner is the bubbling algae pool. Oh, yes. Now, I said I loved the bubbles, but this green weave of color is really symbolic, to be honest, because, of course, all the processes in a living wetland and, of course, the value of peatlands is demonstrated by the gas that comes up through them. Bubbles of oxygen are being produced by the photosynthesizing algae in the pool on the surface of the bog in the valley of the Austrian Alps. The peat bog underlying it is formed of compressed plant material and is effectively a reservoir of carbon, one of the most important carbon reservoirs we have on the planet. Bog is one of the most critical areas that we need to be preserving, and peat, of course, is fundamental to that. And when peat is disturbed and opened up to decay, it releases that carbon dioxide and other gases that contribute massively to global warming. We must keep peat in the ground at all costs. It is incredibly valuable to nature, and it's not so valuable to us. And this is what's likely to happen if the go-ahead is given for plans to construct a new reservoir in this peatland valley. This is why photographs like this are important, to raise awareness of why preserving these ecosystems is crucial. So all the way from Germany, please welcome to the stage Sebastian Frillick.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for choosing my picture as a category winner. I really hope it will help to save this place, also the Platzertal, the endangered Platzertal in the Austrian Alps. It's one of the last remaining huge alpine peatland areas in Austria. And it's such a wonderful, amazing place. I really hope this will help. And, well, I lost my speech. Anyway, thank you very much for this wonderful event, for this great competition. And really, let's hope we can do something for the world and for the nature as nature photographers. Thank you very much.
Next up, we've come to a different water category. This is oceans, the big picture. An equally thought-provoking category for an environment that covers 70% of the Earth's surface, yet receives little coverage from what is happening above or below the surface. Sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind in our oceans, as is our wetlands, all of our watery ecosystems. But that doesn't mean that they are any less crucial. In fact, in many cases, they are more crucial as carbon sinks, as we've just said. The biodiversity that lives there needs our awareness and protection more than ever. And the jury has chosen 3 very different images to show this evening. A Norwegian fishing boat pulling in its huge net as the gulls try to feed on the encircled herring. Now in Norway, of course, you can see these incredible sights of marine life, orca, different kinds of cetaceans, all sorts of whales that come to feed on this herring. But of course it attracts fishing boats as well. And lots of research and work is being done on the bycatch as these gulls dive down to catch the herring, but are unfortunately ensnared in the nets too. And this photograph really highlights that. Zanzibar seaweed farmers, all women, harvesting sustainable red algae from their seaweed nursery ropes, algae that is used to make skincare products around the world. This is done as a sustainable harvest, as I mentioned, and all women come here, support one another in community, and it's a story of hope, a really important message. And an X-ray image of the skeletons of many coral reef fish threatened by overfishing and reef damage. I love the sounds when the photos come up, it's great. Symbolizing the loss of marine biodiversity. For me, this photo was incredibly striking, the details of those tiny bones. We often think of nature as being the strongest thing around us, and in many ways it is, but it is also incredibly fragile, just as is represented by the skeletons of these beautiful animals, which we are losing if we don't talk about it and really gather awareness for what we're losing and try fighting that a little bit harder. A very difficult category to judge again, and the winner of Oceans, the Big Picture, is the fishing mayhem. It's a chaotic scene of a dark polar night as hundreds of gulls hone in on a fishing boat on the Norwegian fjord. The gulls are after the herring, encircled by a huge purse-seine net. In the mayhem, many birds, various different species, all red-listed, will sadly drown. Such interactions are a major threat for seabirds worldwide, but as yet there is no effective solution in reducing the deaths of hundreds of thousands of seabirds annually, referred to as fishing bycatch. It's absolutely devastating. But highlighting this issue and bringing it to everyone's awareness, the world's awareness, is Udun Rikardsen from Norway. Please welcome to the stage.
Thank you, everyone. It feels really good to be up here again among such amazing photographers. And also to put attention to what you said, a global problem about fishery interacting birds. Unfortunately, this leads to quite a few deaths worldwide. But I will tell you a story. It's 10 years since I was standing here the first time. And just 1 hour before I was here first time, I got to know that I will be a father for a daughter. And you know, combined, that was the best award I've ever got. She's 9 years old now. So, what about today? Recently, or just before I came here, I got to know that my new puppy husky dog was born. So I have so much to thank Wildlife Photographer of the Year for. It's been very productive. So this is for my daughter and my newly born puppy. Thanks a lot, Wildlife Photographer of the Year.
And now we're nearly at the end of crowning that ultimate winner, but we've got one final category to go, because we are going to dive under the water to glimpse some of the life that most of us see only through the lenses of cameras and storytellers. And as you look at these beautiful images, keep in mind what the photographer has to do to capture them, what's involved in that process in creating pictures while swimming and breathing, photographing, making sure the light is right, making sure everything's sharp, all whilst under the water. I'm a big under the water fan. Anything I can do to get in the water, I'm there, but I have never been brave enough to attempt marine photograph, so utmost respect for anyone that does that. First up, we've got this photo of a curious pink river dolphin in the tannin-stained water of Rio Negro in Brazil. There's something beautiful about this photo, the vulnerability of this animal, that color, the light penetrating the water. Here we've got a friendly snapping turtle in the New Hampshire lake. Doesn't look very friendly, but I'm assured by the photographer that these snapping turtles are actually incredibly relaxed. And yeah, they've been diving with the snapping turtles for quite some time. What an amazing portrait that is. Ultimately grumpy. I like an animal that looks grumpy, but it's actually friendly. I don't know, it says something to me, but it says more about me than the animal, I don't know. Up next, we've got a huge swarm of Pacific sea nettle jellyfish in Monterey Bay, California, feeding on plankton. Again, those green tones really coming through, that huge bloom of jellyfish. We know that with warming temperatures, we're going to see a rise in jellyfish numbers, and this is something that's going to really potentially change the landscape of our oceans, but a really beautiful photograph there. And by the same photographer, and in the same bay, the leathery, translucent egg case of a swell shark, illuminated to the revealing the developing embryo inside. I mean, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? The time that it takes for that tiny, delicate, vulnerable little embryo to develop in a mermaid's purse deep under the water. It will emerge, again, still quite vulnerable, but covered in dermal denticles, those miniature teeth that form their skin, and it will become one of the most incredible predators in that bay. Beautiful. And finally, a very, very rare encounter, and I must say this was taken under permit, with a curious Mediterranean monk seal in Greek waters, one of a small and very vulnerable, but yet increasing, a bit of positivity, increasing population. Those eyes kind of looking at you, wondering what you are as you're there trying to figure out what it is. I always think those moments are really special, a moment of trust, a moment of understanding between the subject and the photographer. The glistening water above, those long whiskers, a very rare and special photograph of this species. And the winning image is this very intimate view of a baby swell shark. The photographer found the egg case tethered to the base of a giant kelp fjord off the Californian coast. There was a strong oxygenating current here, but little light penetration. So to illuminate both the wide-angle view of the environment and the leathery incubation case required swimming lengths and precise lighting. A strobe behind the case has, not lighting, I said lightning, didn't I? Lighting. That would be quite a cool photo though, but you know. A strobe behind the case has revealed the little shark with its telltale markings moving inside. Ralph Pace from the USA, please come to the stage.
Thank you. How cool is this? Get to be hanging out with your friends, having a few drinks under a blue whale, right? I mean, we're lit. But I've watched this competition from my years of working in science. I mean, I remember years that I was so excited, I would tune in and say, holy smokes, look at this, and you draw this inspiration from it. So it's really amazing for me, as I never had aspirations to be a photographer. I never wasn't that long ago, I didn't have a camera. And I think it's amazing that I can be in a room with David Doubilet, the Picasso of underwater, and still have these, at the same time, we have these young kids that are coming to take our jobs, and it's amazing. So I want to thank the museum. This is always just such an incredible event. The jury, I can't imagine that task. And to Roz, Gemma, Kathy, thank you, always. But my life probably, I wouldn't be here without science and the scientists. You know, obviously they provide all the information to us and get us to where we need to be. But a really special thank you to Whale Trust, as a group of whale researchers I work with out in Hawaii. Flip Nicklin works there. For many of you, you probably know Flip, Mr. Whale. And you know, even on a bad day, we have a good day drinking coffee next to whales, so it's pretty good. But lastly, I just want to thank my wife, who wrangles our kids when you're chasing the tides. She's our glue, our kids that are our inspiration, and thank you guys. Thank you so much.
We're almost there. We're on the brink, on the pinnacle of the proceedings, and we're going to announce our grand title winner, Wildlife Photographer of the Year 2025, winner of the effectively sort of wildlife Oscars, if you like. But before we do, I'm just going to remind you who's in the running, all of the category winners that we've had this evening. So in alphabetical order, Javier Aznar from Spain. You could give them a round of applause on each one of them. Simona Bowmaster from Germany. Philip Egger from Italy. Sebastian Freulich from Germany. Shane Gross from Canada. John Juarez from Spain. Alexei Haritonov from Russia. Chen Li from Malaysia. Luca Lorenz from Germany. Quentin Martinez from France. Ralph Pace from the United States. Udon Rikardsen from Norway. Georgina Statler from Australia. Dennis Stogsgill from the United States. Wim van der Heffer from South Africa. And Qinrong Yang from China. They're all in the running, but only one will get another round of applause. To announce the winner and present the award, I'd like to welcome to the stage the chair of the judges this year, Kathy Moran.
Thank you, Chris. And here we are. And it is such an honor to present this award and to represent the competition and the jury. Tonight, when you enter the exhibition, you might notice words scattered among the photographs. Curiosity, patience, experiment, communication. And which of these is the force behind a winning image? What about skill, or sometimes just plain old luck? All of the category winners, all of the commended photographs, bring together some combination of vision and experience, each photographer's own secret sauce. But ultimately, the jury agreed that this year's winning photograph topped out in every category, especially patience. This photograph is evocative, provocative, and it is memorable. So please join me in congratulating our 61st Wildlife Photographer of the Year, Wim van der Hepper from South Africa, for Ghost Town Visitor.
I said it before, for me to be here is an incredible honor. 20 years ago, I took the route of becoming a wildlife photographer, and there's not a person that walks the face of this planet that told me it was a good idea. And I had to stick to my guns, and I had to make that dream a reality. And even in those days, the only thing I could think of was winning this competition. And it was the pinnacle for me. It was what I always dreamt about. And it is the biggest thing in my whole life that has ever happened in my career. And all I can say is thank you very much to everyone. And judges, you've got very good taste in photography. Thank you very much for that. Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing photograph, a very worthy winner of this incredible prize. So thank you so much, though, to all of the photographic artists, journalists, biologists, scientists, communicators, storytellers, visionaries. I could go on and on and on. Everyone in this room, winners and alumni, your passion and skill and inspires me and all of us every single day to go out and make the world a better place, to do something different tomorrow than we did today or yesterday. Now, you're already here because you care and you're doing that. But we need to go that little step further to protect what we're so passionate about documenting. Thank you so much to the audience that's been watching at home, making such a memorable evening. It's been a pretty good one, hasn't
It's been pretty good, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love it. It's one of my favourite nights of the year, it really is.
Congratulations to all of our photographers. It's an extraordinary set of images. Megan and I have done quite a lot of talking. Some of the photographers did quite a lot of talking, but ultimately,
rightly so,
from my perspective, the images said a lot more. Collectively, a very powerful set, conveying a whole range of reactions to the natural world, as I said, from the simple beauty and our wonder and love for it to some of the more harrowing aspects of it. I'd like to urge you all to turn your lenses ever more frequently on photographs that carry a message. That message doesn't have to be hard-hitting, it simply has to engage with an audience that's, like us, on the brink. The difference is that we know it, and we haven't convinced all of them of it. And I think that making that part of our mission, part of our need to communicate more effectively, educate, as in the case of those rattlesnake photographs, would be a very welcome addition to our portfolio going forward in forthcoming years. So please do set your alarm clocks just that 5 minutes earlier. And rather than getting up and speaking, maybe it's time that we need to get up and start shouting with the images that we draw through our lens, using our imagination, innovation, and creativity.
I think it's one thing, isn't it, to take a beautiful image. You know, modern technology, the way that things have evolved, taking beautiful images is something that is, I wouldn't say easy to do, but it's certainly easier than it was. But to get a poignant message, one that makes people think, your audience think when they go home, that is really the key. And I'm so excited that this competition is all about those messages. So take the challenging photographs, challenge yourself to step out your comfort zone, get those difficult photographs that perhaps no one else has yet taken. It's been an absolute honor to be part of this, the largest international event of its kind, bringing together people of all different nationalities, languages, creeds, everyone all over the world, who all collectively speak with one voice. But that's it from us this evening, so thank you very much. We're now going to hand over back to Dr. Douglas Gurr for closing thoughts. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
Good night. Good night.
Well, that was okay, wasn't it? Seriously, what an evening. First of all, huge congratulations once more to both our young winner, Andrea Dominici, and our grand title winner, Vindam de Hever. Those are two truly stunning images. Well done. But to anyone who had an image tonight, I mean, I am humbled. I mean, extraordinary. To be one of those 100 is really quite special. Round of applause for everyone who was in that room tonight. And incredibly good news. If you were a little bit impressed or a little bit inspired, you only have to wait 6 days when the competition opens for WPY 62. So let's go for it. I hope you'll leave tonight with a little bit of a renewed respect for the natural world and the belief that together, and I'll pause on that word together, because one of the things I always find amazing about an evening tonight is, you know, we read a lot about our world fragmenting, about, you know, countries beginning to take a me-first approach, and yet I saw photographers and images from all around the world, united by that common passion to protect nature. And it just reminds us that there are some things that matter more. So, isn't that amazing? I think that's pretty amazing. Can we say thank you to Chris and Megan? Weren't they amazing as ever? Just brilliant. Over 2 million people will have the opportunity in the coming 12 months to see those extraordinary images. But you, if you wander that way, about 30 yards, can be the very first. And by the way, they look great on the screen, but really, they look unbelievable when you see them at a competition. So if you have a few minutes, do go and look at the exhibition. And in that context, I'm absolutely thrilled to introduce my friend Mike Sales, CEO of Real Assets from our lead corporate sponsor, Nuveen, who's going to come and officially declare Wildlife Photographer of the Year 61 open. Mike, over to you.
Thank you very much, Doug. And wow, what a show. The Oscars, if you like, of the wildlife photography world. So on behalf of Nuveen, it's an honor to partner with the museum to present this signature exhibition to the world. Every image you're about to see in the exhibition captures the beauty, the drama, and the complexity of nature. Each photograph should serve as a reminder that nature is also fragile, and we have a responsibility to ourselves and future generations to safeguard the biomes, ecosystems, and habitats that sustain all life on this planet. At Nuveen, we always invest like the future is watching. We know that investment decisions that we make today will play a role in determining the health of our environment tomorrow. And we fully support the wildlife photographers and the vanguards of this great institution who will be there to record both our successes and our failures at protecting the natural world around us. On behalf of Nuveen, we are very proud of this partnership and our mutual commitment to preserving these wonders with everyone here today. And with that, I am delighted to announce that the exhibition is officially open. Words I never, ever thought I would say. So please proceed down Fossil Way to the exhibition and enjoy the desserts that have been prepared for you on the way. A special thanks again to Megan and Chris for putting on a great event here this evening. And finally, I'd like to invite all the photographers whose incredible work is featured in this year's exhibition and all the judges to the stage now for a group photograph. Thank you all very much.